Alors, bonjour. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here this morning with the Ilesic families and my friend Michael Cooper from the House of Commons. Hier, au Sénat, j'ai déposé le projet de loi S-281 qui vient modifier le Code criminel. On se souviendra tous de la récente décision de la Cour suprême qui a changé le Code criminel qui permettait, depuis quelques années, d'imposer des sentences consécutives dans les cas de multiples meurtres. Donc, une personne, souvenons-nous du cas Bissonnette, qui avait assassiné 6 personnes à Québec, il avait été condamné non pas à 6 peines à vie, mais à 40 ans de prison, parce que le juge à l'époque avait réécrit le Code criminel, ce qui a été renversé par la Cour d'appel du Québec d'ailleurs. Mais au Canada, une douzaine de personnes qui avaient tué plus qu'une innocente victime avaient eu des multiples sentences. Et c'est le cas qu'on a devant nous ici aujourd'hui avec la famille Ilesic. Pour les groupes de victimes et la population, le système de justice doit traiter ces multiples meurtres avec plus de rigueur et de sévérité, surtout avec plus de respect envers les familles. Much respect to the families. Aujourd'hui, ces criminels, plutôt ces assassins, pour beaucoup, la durée de leur incarcération dépassera le 25 ans, la sentence minimale. Comme nous l'avons constaté dans le passé, je pense au cas Bernardo, je pense au cas Picton, je pense au cas Olson, ces types de criminels, on le sait, ne recouvreront rarement la liberté après 25 ans. Malgré leur incarcération à long terme, ces voleurs de vie et de rêve, à toutes les années, après la période de 25 ans ou la période d'admissibilité, une libération conditionnelle, demanderont des remises en liberté et pour beaucoup, ils le feront à chaque année. Pour les victimes et les familles, c'est un retour dans leur drame. C'est de revivre le stress de se présenter devant la commission, d'être confronté aux criminels et de devoir encore demander que justice soit faite. Donc, actuellement, comme l'ont fait ces criminels que vous citez plus haut, à chaque année, ils se présentent devant la commission. Au pire, ils font une demande et ne se présentent pas. Ce projet de loi vise donc ces criminels, les criminels les plus dangereux que le pays puisse connaître, qui abusent du système des libérations conditionnelles en adressant à répétition des demandes, sans égard à la souffrance des familles, sans égard à aux victimes qu'ils ont fait. Demandes qui se font que pour causer davantage de stress aux familles. Davantage pour replonger les familles dans leur drame, dans leur douleur et dans leur peine. Ce projet de loi fera en sorte maintenant, s'il est adopté, qu'un criminel qui s'est vu refuser une remise en liberté après sa période d'admissibilité ne pourra pas faire d'autres demandes avant 5 ans, et ainsi de suite à tous les 5 ans. Donc, nous allons épargner aux familles cette terrible douleur de devoir revenir à répétition devant la commission, de devoir se préparer à témoigner et de revivre leur drame de leurs proches qui étaient assassinés. Donc, ce projet de loi, le S-280, I hope that bill will have the name of Brian Bill. I hope so. Donc, au nom de la famille Ilesic et au nom de toutes les victimes du Canada, je souhaite que ce projet de loi-là soit adopté rapidement au Sénat et ensuite envoyé à la Chambre des communes pour que mon collègue, le député Michael Cooper, puisse le cheminer rapidement. Merci beaucoup.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that put the press conference together. I'll just give you a little bit of a background as to what happened and transpired in June 15th, 2012. That entire day rocked our lives. How we found out that something was happening is I got a phone call from my son in Calgary, and he said, "Is Brian home from work?" And Brian at that time worked for the G4S Armored Car Company. And no, Brian's car, Jeep I should say, wasn't home. And he said, "Turn on the TV because there's been a murder, or there's more than one murder." So I did, and as a result, I could see that my son was lying on the floor, a great amount of blood dragged from the bank room and paramedics trying to resuscitate him. That was the most devastating picture that will never, ever, ever leave my life. The murderer shot 4, and one survivor did survive with some brain injuries. When the court took place, the courtroom had been full of press and media, and the murderer did not look at our faces once. His attitude was no remorse. It didn't matter that he took $360,000. It didn't matter that he killed his workers in the head, some of them being shot more than once to ensure that they would die. The murderer was sentenced to 40 years without the chance of parole. However, this might change because of the Supreme Court's decision. Sentences may be reduced to 25 years. Also, parole hearings presently happen every 18 months. We don't want to go to parole hearings every 18 months. Victims do not appreciate the fact that they have to go 18 months. We want Bill S-281 to be instilled in the government and change parole hearings to be every 5 years. We have also worked with our MP, and our MP is doing everything he could possibly do to work on a petition that will invoke the notwithstanding clause. And we have had a good response to it, and I believe we might even still keep the petition open for a while. So I just want to thank everybody that is here to listen. This is not a place that is exactly the most exciting place to be in government. I just also would like to say if there's any funding that can go to victims of support groups around the areas of Canada, that's much appreciated. When we attended our victim support group in Edmonton, we wouldn't have gone through the journey the way we did. They were very, very helpful. It's helpful. Thank you.
Good morning. In May 2022, when the Supreme Court of Canada saw it fit to eliminate consecutive sentencing for multiple murderers, our family and friends were left with a broken heart and empty emotions. The police justice system worked very hard to solve these types of cases, only to have their efforts treated without any regard for victims or survivors. This is not right. I encourage all MPs and senators to support Bill S-281 and not simply state our hearts go out to you. Thank you.
Michael Cooper, Member of Parliament for St. Albert, Edmonton. When the Supreme Court of Canada issued the Bissonnette decision, striking down a just bill passed by the Harper government that gave judges the discretion to impose consecutive parole ineligibility periods for persons convicted of killing multiple people to take into account each life lost, my constituents and my friends, Mike and Diane Ilesic, came to me and asked what could be done. As you heard in their powerful words, they have lost their son at the hands of a cold-blooded murderer who took the lives of 3 innocent victims, shooting them point blank in the back of the head, and almost took a 4th person who fortunately has survived but with life-sustaining injuries. That cold-blooded murderer was the first perpetrator to be sentenced under that very just law passed by the Harper Conservative government. Now, as a result of the Bissonnette decision, which has resulted in some of Canada's worst murderers, a rogues gallery of the worst, having their sentences significantly slashed, that is at risk. That monster could be eligible for parole in 12 short years. Mike and Diane said to me that the only thing that really provided comfort to them was knowing they would not have to think about going to a parole hearing for 40 years, which might mean for them they would never have to endure that. And now it could be 12 short years away. And they asked, what can be done? Well, what should have been done is that this Liberal government should have invoked the notwithstanding clause to override this unjust decision. But after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, this is a government that has consistently put the rights of criminals first and the rights of victims last. And so that was not done, despite calls by Conservatives for the government to do that. But putting aside the notwithstanding clause, there are legislative options at the government's disposal, options that they have not taken. This bill is one such option. Although it is broader in the sense that it would apply to all persons, all criminals convicted of murder, let's face it. If you have been convicted of murder and you have served your minimum sentence, in the case of first-degree murder, 25 years, in the case of second-degree, anywhere from 10 to 25, and you get your kick at the can to apply for parole after serving that period of time, and you are turned down, almost certainly the reason for it is you are not releasable. So why is it that after that period, every year, such monsters, such criminals, can apply again and again and again, putting their victims through a process that is traumatizing, in which they are re-victimized, in which they have to face the person who took the life of their loved one? Where is the justice in that? Where is the balance in that? It's not just, it's not right, and it has impacted victims in a very negative way. So this bill is frankly the least that should be done. It simply provides that if you have killed someone, murdered someone, you get one opportunity, and after that, you still get an opportunity if you have really demonstrated that you have rehabilitated yourself. But you're going to have to wait 5 years, because it's probably, if you've served 25 years, it's probably not going to be next year that you're in a position to be releasable. And so I'm hopeful that senators will work to move this bill forward and send it over to the House of Commons so that we can get it passed. And even better, if Justin Trudeau truly cared about the rights of victims after presiding over a 39% increase in violent crime, after seeing a chaos and disorder on our streets under his watch as a result of his soft on crime policies, even better would be if he would see fit to introduce a government bill to move this forward. And finally, let me just say that I want to thank Senator Pierre Boisvenu, who is a true champion of the rights of victims. Senator Boisvenu is also a victim. His daughter was murdered. He walks in the same shoes as Mike and Diane. So I want to thank him for his leadership in stepping up and introducing this bill in the Senate, which I worked with him closely over the last, since the Bissonnette decision, on figuring out how we could respond. And this is a small, modest step that would make a real difference in balancing justice and seeing that the rights of victims are, for once, put ahead of the rights of criminals. Thank you very much. And with that, we'd be happy to take questions.
At the moment, I see no questions online on Zoom, so I believe that will bring an end to the press conference.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Merci.